nothing is more expensive than bad information. Know the source. OneRadioNetwork.com.
Well, a very pleasant good afternoon to you. Hi, this is Patrick Timpone. It is April 6th, 2021. Hope you enjoyed the show this morning with attorney Thomas Renz. We'll be streaming that little puppy for you, and you'll be able to pass that one on to everyone that you care about. He's doing some great work and works with this whole potential vaccine passport thing. Look for it on OneRadioNetwork.com. We will be talking with Dr. Paul Thomas on Thursday. He co-authored a study with James Lyon Wheeler, and it was a great study all about the health conditions of vaccinated children versus unvaccinated children over a long period of time. Fascinating, and for those of you who are concerned about vaccines, it might not be to your surprise that the kids didn't get the old, much more healthy. A very interesting study. It was so interesting that a week after he published it, not long ago, they took away his medical license. So the plot thickens. We're going to have fun this afternoon. We're here at Dripping Springs time, a little bit after 12:30, with two young'uns that have been on the show before. Dr. Barre Paul Lando is here, and he is a biological terrain medicine fellow, and I think he's right up here. He's right there. See, I told you I was going to go to the wrong one. Dr. Barre Lando. Hi, Doc. How are you? Nice to see you.
Hey, Patrick.
How you doing?
Good to see you, Patrick, and great to be here with Melissa as well.
Yeah, and Melissa Estelle is here, and if I can get the right number, I think I'm going to show her. There she is. Dr.
Hey,
Melissa Estelle. Hi, she's got her pigtails. DrMelissaEstelle.com and Dr. Lando. And these two little pumpkins are into some real curious things about the body. Where does disease come from? Melissa Estelle is a German new medicine lady. She's a chiropractor, and she's been studying the mind, that little thing that we call the mind. And Dr. Barre Lando, he is a biological trained guy, as I told you, also a DC. You're also a chiropractor too, right, Barre?
That was the last degree I had along the line of a lot of different certificating in conventional medicine through naturopathy and chiropractic and all sorts of junk.
All sorts of junk. And Dr. Sell is a DC. She was top of her class there in 2012. And then you started to work with some mind-body kind of things, Doc, and that's how you got introduced to German new medicine, which is a lot about what we think and what we believe to be true, correct?
Well, yeah, it's about how our bodies are adapting, and that, the nature of disease isn't something going wrong. It's not a breakdown. It's not a dysfunction. It's not that, your body is turned on you, but rather your body has been receiving information through your perception about the world that you live in, and your body is adapting. And so, yes, my background in chiropractic, I found it just kind of primed me for the mind-blowing revelation that is Germanic new medicine and the 5 biological laws, because I already had a deep belief in knowing that the body is infinitely wise, and that within it is all of the intelligence of the universe inside a physical organism. And so when you respect and honor that intelligence, and you don't think that, let's cut out this organ and there's a problem here, take this medication. It's this very, this authoritarian, someone outside of me says there's something wrong with my body, I need to remove certain parts. When you honor the body and understand that there's a brilliant wisdom here that we are only scratching the surface of beginning to understand. And so when I came across Dr. Hamer's work, and he discovered how our bodies truly are always helping us, always want to survive, that the cancer isn't just this rogue, random malignancy that's just going crazy, but rather it's a regulated, intentional response to shocking trauma. I find that those worlds came together in such a beautiful way because it's getting at this universal truth that is present in all of reality. And, these different individuals throughout history, they take different angles and they see it from different perspectives.
Whoop, hold on a second. I was wrong. Sorry.
The integration
Sorry.
of understanding like the chiropractic type philosophy, but then this new medicine of Dr. Hamer's has just been incredible.
Yeah. So Barre, do you think that we can take that to a whole level that Melissa's talking about with even viruses? Are you a germ guy? Do you think that there are germies that we run around and breathe in and catch and get the cold and flu?
No, not at all. And, to really understand some of these things that would sound very fanciful to most people indoctrinated in the conventional medical model, you have to understand the origin of how we got here in the first place. And in law, we have an axiom. It's called fruit of the poison tree. And the whole germ theory of disease originated back with Louis Pasteur, who is the Dr. Grouchy of the day. And, they're paid for pawns that are there to sell the wares of people that really want to do nice things to humanity, such as cull the populations and control them in between. So, my journey in medicine, started in conventional and emergency work and then went through naturopathy and Asian medicine, Chinese medicine, and like Melissa, chiropractic. And I found, new German medicine or German new medicine, maybe 20 some odd years ago, and, never looked back since. And, nature does not create disease. It does not create contagions. And the only contagions there are the disinformation that we've had engrammed into our neurology that become our belief systems and then become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Now, since the days, of my original training, I've gone a lot into waveform physics, and that explains exactly how thoughts and, qualified by emotions, real things in this simulation that we're all experiencing, and in fact become what we think of as disease. But of course, we are the origin of all that in the first place. So we really have to get our minds wrapped around the fact that, we have a lot more to say about all this and, than most people believe. So
the Matrix movie was, they were closing in on it. They were, in a sense, right? So can we say then that if Patrick's sitting here and believes that something's going to happen, I don't know, just buys into some kind of a devastating belief, I'm going to get this, that's in that body, that's in my body at that moment in time. If from a physics thing, does that wash with you? It's possible that this body is just a thought. So the thought of something terrible is going to happen, it's got to be in the body at that time, because the mind, body, who I am as soul is all together. Does that resonate with you, Barre?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, your body is not in a physical form as we believe it is, and it's a frame by frame depiction of our thoughts. Thoughts are electrical vectors that polarize. Polarization creates resonance. Resonance is then nuanced by all the different beliefs and emotions that we harbor that then or give all the characteristics to the physical forms, including our physical senses that think we're seeing the physical forms that we're looking at. So it's a frame by frame, and it's a dual hydraulic pump where informational fields from those resonant fields, and this sounds a little out there, but this is hardcore science. Those resonance and alter by compressing those informational fields into a level of resonance that is then picked up by our physical senses, and simultaneously those informational fields are radiating back up to source to be renewed so that we can have the next frame of our experience. Just think of a movie. It's exactly like that, and the physics is there. This is not conjecture. And when you apply this understanding to medicine, now all of a sudden you're opening up totally new vistas. And Dr. Hamer, who Melissa, one of those great minds and pioneers, was on that thread. Now we can even go beyond where he was appreciating.
I want to ask a question. While we're doing that, would you go to a thing on your screen that says something like, on the far right, it says something like settings or something like that? You can see it. I want you to unclick a little box that says automatic gain control. You see that? Miss O'Sell is there with her pigtails looking, and she's gained fine.
Auto gain. I'm going to uncheck that.
Yeah, uncheck that, and then reconnect. Hit reconnect, and you're clipping out a little bit at the top end, and that may help it. So, Melissa, that if what he's saying is right, and who's going to argue with a guy who just said that? Then that would mean. So we sit here after the show or whenever and realize that we are spiritual beings and that we are healing, and we believe that, and we vision it, and we sense it, and we walk and we think about this. Then that's got to be doing some magical things with our body as well, right? I mean, it's got to.
Yeah, when you step into that power and when you start seeing that the physical body and everything about your external manifestation, this material stuff, that you are the projector, it is the projection. And so, if you're going to change a movie, you can't go to the screen where the projection is taking place. You have to go into the film. You have to go into the kind of the creative process. And that's the power of getting behind the scenes of your experience. When you stop looking to outside cause, when you stop looking, at your body and saying, change body, change, but the body can't change until you change. The external can't change until you change. You really do. You take all of your power back from the external places and things, anything that you're blaming, anything that you are holding responsible for your state of well-being. When you externalize it, you give your power away, and then you feel like, no, the government has power over me, or germs, or bacteria, or, these outside things have power over me. And then you just kind of sit and wait for things to change, but nothing can change until you do. And so, yes, when you start wrapping your mind around these wacky ideas and you start saying, let me just play with that. Let me see. Because the moment that you do, you break that pattern and you shift. There's a time period between planting the seed and the sprouting. And so you have to kind of look at physical reality and block it out for a little while. If you are in a state of such extreme fear, you have to find some solid ground to stand on and begin to take that power back and say, okay, if this is all coming from me, what do I actually want? So if my life and my body is a picture that I'm painting, if I keep painting the same picture, I'm going to keep getting the same picture. So I've got to do something radically different with the way I'm operating my mind, the way I'm perceiving my world, in order to start getting something different. And so if you persist in that for a little while, yes, everything about your current world can and will change if you can hold the vision of what it is you do want, instead of being sucked back down into the fear, into the old model, into these idea prisons where you get locked into seeing the world through a certain lens. And until you can see that lens, you're under the spell of that state of consciousness.
Under the spell. We're with Barre Lando and Melissa Sell, Patrick Timpone, as we're live here on April 6th. Thank you so much for coming on, both of you guys. It's so fun. Thanks. I really appreciate it. So Barre, so talk about from your perspective, this idea of thoughts. I spent 20 years of this yogic kind of idea of just observing my thoughts, right? Just, I got over that after a while. That wasn't really serving me that well. I'd spend my whole life observing thoughts. Now, from a quantum physicist point of view, it doesn't feel like we are observing thoughts. To me, it feels like it is a state of consciousness, every thought. Because if we were just at observing a thought, we wouldn't feel it, right? I mean, if you observe fear coming through, right? And you feel fear, well, I've looked at this and I'm not observing it. If I feel it, I'm in that fear at that moment. So it feels to me, thoughts are just a state of consciousness. And so trying to get rid of a thought we don't want is totally opposite from me, my experience of the way to go. You simply go to where you want to go. Like the bumper sticker used to say, wherever you go, there you are. How does that fit for you?
Yeah, and stopping your thoughts is like trying not to think of an elephant. That's all you're going to think about. And a lot of people that get into meditation, that's the first thing, and then you sit there and just get frustrated with yourself and give up. Thoughts. The first thing is we have to understand how things work. There's I had an acquaintance, his name was Daniel Brinkley, and he died a couple of times, one on the other side. And anyway, long story short, he had to do a big life review, and it was much different than, what we're taught in, or at least what I was taught in Catholicism and so forth. And, he was shown every action and thought that he had ever entertained in that particular embodiment. And he said when he came back, reluctantly, by the way, that when you see, the consequences of every single thought, including just like a minor little projection or an opinion or a judgment about something, he says, you're cured forever because you see how it works. He said when he came back, he had no inclination ever again to think anything negative about anything or somebody else. So the first thing I think that's important is, on the electronic plane, and there are, 5 different planes and many subplanes, the different electronic anatomy of ourselves, we'll call it. These, that give birth to everything, we need to know how they work. So if we know everything starts on the mental plane with a picture or an image, and then we give it the velocity to pop into the matrix with our emotional, or our passion, that content, we're going to be more responsible creators. But we were never taught that. And instead, we have these habitual thought patterns that are programmed into us, things that we listen to all day long from media, from our teachers, and you name it. It's coming at us from every direction. Then we wonder why we can't get out of our own way. Yeah. So it starts with knowledge. It starts with awareness.
When you say a velocity, well, let me ask you, Melissa. So you had said something about observing your thoughts when the last time we were here, and I remembered that. So your experience, if you observe a thought that's a fearful or an anxious thought, do you think that that's, at that moment, do you think the fact of just observing it, or it's in your consciousness, that for that moment, momentarily, is affecting you, and as soon as you don't, it's not? How is it what's your experience?
So with the observation, I really love that example that you gave, Barre, is that when you, there's this great quote, I don't know who said it, but think as though every thought is projected across the sky for everyone to read, everyone to see. So when you are in fear, when you are in a state of anxiety, and then you start to notice it, that is you peeling away from this like ego identity that's been formed. And so you have this idea of yourself, because the real you, who you really are, can't ever be afraid. There's nothing to be afraid of. Yeah. It's never anxious. It's never worried. It's never sad. It never feels lonely. Like the real you never has any of those emotions. When you're stuck in a state where you're experiencing a lot of those emotions, when you start to recognize that's not the real me, I am that which observes this portion of me, this ego, this identity that I have kind of crafted out of traumatic situations. And so the problem, though, is that we're in these identities and we feel so one with them. We don't believe that there's anything outside of that identity.
Or behind it.
Have identified.
We've identified, yeah.
Yeah, we don't see the background. We don't see the watcher. We're so involved in the emotional reaction, in the physical experience. And we have a lot of very rational reasons and logic for why we feel the way that we do. This and that happened to me. This didn't happen to me. I had these parents. I was born into this world. This is going on and so we construct this image of ourselves and this identity that's built out of very real things. And so you feel like you're just a rational, logical human in the world, doing the best that you can. But you're experiencing a lot of negative emotion. You don't feel good a lot of the time. And so by beginning this process of self-observation, by popping out and dissolving into the background, becoming the one, you can start to see, that is a part of me that is so involved in this, very physical experience, and it feels so real. And when we get into kind of why would anybody do that? Why would we, it's like this whole idea, like the Hindu kind of story of creation is like we're all God, and God went to sleep, and God wakes up in each of these bodies. And the whole fun of it is to forget.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. I got goosebumps when you said that. That's a beautiful thing. Yeah. That's
because
yeah.
and this is an example. I know I've mentioned Alan Watts the last time we talked,
me
but
too.
Alan Watts gives an example. Like if you were God and you were all and every energy, everything in the whole entire universe, and you could build any world. You go, poof, here's a world. Poof, here's a world. I could, play in the jungle, and I could go skydiving, and I can just do all of these things. Like think of like a computer programmer. We've got computer programmers who just build out these incredible worlds, and they play these games. But like if you were playing a game, like imagine you're playing Mario, and you have like the star the whole time. So you can't get hurt. Nothing bad can happen to you. You don't need any skill. Like that game would be boring. No one would want to play it. There has to be a challenge. And so when you can start looking at your human experience as like, you're God, and you went to sleep and you woke up in this fleshy form, and you've got, you're born into a certain family who's got certain issues and problems and all of this. And the whole game is to wake up, is to see, oh my goodness, I chose this. I wanted to do this. I wanted to come and have this experience and feel scared. And like the people who are really under the spell right now and running out to get their vaccine, and they're so afraid, and they're playing the game. They've forgotten who they really are, and they're in it. And so in a way, you kind of can't fault them or blame them. They're you. They just haven't seen what you've seen. They're still. Yeah, it's like, why do you go watch a scary movie? You want to, if you knew how the scary movie was going to end, it wouldn't be scary, and you wouldn't get the and the thrill and the the roller coaster.
Fun,
and these,
right?
We do these. It wouldn't be any fun. And so the people who are really freaked out and really scared, in a way, they're kind of God having the most fun, because they really, really believe that everything is as big and bad and scary as they think that it is.
So this watcher, and what I liked, read Alan Watts, in 1980 or so, and he said something like, I always remembered the idea that he used to call it soul, that we are soul, but the trouble is we can't put our arms around ourselves and can't see ourselves, right? We can't really say, oh, well, here I am. We're just a kind of a viewpoint. And my teacher says that that's one of our jobs in this lifetime, is to become aware, literally aware of who we are as soul, which we can do. And then that's kind of, you kind of wake up. So this watcher, this we'll call it soul, Bear, this is who we really are. Huh? This is who we really are. And this is the part that if we get hit by a flying car day after tomorrow, I just erase that, then it goes on, goes somewhere. And we never die. We just don't, right? No way. Jose.
Well, the biggest secret is our physical bodies. We think of it was never alive in the first place. It's a projection, again, of electrical, vectors that we put in place. And what Melissa was describing is fantastic, because we've perfected the art of attaching stories to our experience. And again, they're great fun, and they get very intense. And it's, the whole purpose is to have rapid soul expansion through those stories. But there comes a time when we have to realize it's just a story. You can't be angry or afraid or any other emotion you can concoct by way of an external circumstance or a attached to that emotion. Of course, shrinks are great at, keeping us in story forever. Those stories are a fabrication of those emotions, those forces that we have put in play at some point, somewhere. I was just about to say in the past, but I stopped myself, because another problem we have is the concept of time. Right now we're saying we live in the end times, and we really do live in the end times, but it's the end of the concept of time, because a lot of us are now remembering, how things work and why we're really here. And, time is only an experience you have when you're, let's just say, seduced into one half of the creative cycle, which is that compression of informational fields that are stratified in certain ways that we could explain very, detailed. That's why we experience time. But if you think about it, you go back to a lot of indigenous cultures, and in their language, they didn't even have past and future tense. So I would ask anybody, if you could not drag up the past or project into the future, what would you be other than just complete what me worry?
What me worry. Yeah, and then as Melissa was saying about, the game and doing, you would just do what you want to do, right? And as long as you don't hurt anybody else, you really get to do what you want to do, right? Just do what you want to do. You want to write a book, or, I don't know, get married, do it. But that's my theory on aging. I think that time thing is a real trap. And my theory is that if I believe that there's a space in between, say, a month from now when Melissa's going to be back on with Amanda, right? And if I really believe that there's some space in between that, which there's not, right? I think that the body has got to do something during that space. And I think that it will age because it's got to do something, right? It's, if I create 25 days in my body, what's it going to do for 25 days? If I don't create it, there is no 25 days. Does that,
Totally. And yeah, the idea that everything is that's already happened. We've already done that interview and it went great and everyone loved it.
It's great. We're good.
And yeah, like the whole time thing, when you really do see it as like a playground for experience, because we have to have this illusion called time in order to play these roles and to play these games. You have to have a timeline on which to build your movie script. You know what I mean? If you say all these things happened all at once, and it's just like, oh, well, that's the thing, is for the fun, for the play of it, this slowing things down and having things take time and having there be like a gestation period. Like babies don't just, pop out of the sky with the stork. They grow and they develop. And so it's this beautiful expression of this wisdom, this deep science that just pervades everything. And we get to witness it. And that's like, what is the experience? It's God, it's the universe, it's all that is getting to know itself from the inside out. And so, we can come into this plane and say, oh, I just want to learn. I just want to observe, think back to like naturalists who just like, I want to watch I want to see what this plant does, and I want to see the animals that come and interact with this plant. I just want to learn about it and say, wow, isn't that cool? And then, another lifetime, I want to do something different. And so when you just see this as, why do you watch movies? Why do you play games? Why do you, fantasize about things? It's for fun. And if you can embody that and really see, it's like when it gets serious, it's when it gets so heavy. Oh, it's so scary and it's so bad. And these things that happen, they're so wrong and they shouldn't happen, and you're terrified and you're angry. And again, it all feels very justified. The more that you can just look at that and say, oh, apparently I wanted to come here and experience what this is like. And if I want to get free, it's just simply in the remembrance of who I am, what I'm doing here, and say, okay, I can work with this. It's like, these are the, we deal out the cards, and this is the hand that I have this round. And if I'm just lamenting it and hating it and say, oh, I don't want these cards, I wish I had a different, and I hate this and it's horrible. It's like, when you understand the game, you're like, all right, I'm just going to play this round the best I can. I'm just going to have fun, see if I can enjoy this particular arrangement. And I know that there's a way. And then you start to just have access to more and more. And you start to see, oh, when I change my mind, when I start imagining things working out for me, opportunities come, things kind of, like that serendipity where you meet people, stuff starts happening, and you're like, oh, this is, you were never in woo-woo before, but you started like being a little more positive, and cool stuff started happening to you. You're like, oh, maybe this is how it works, that it's all a projection of my mind, that mind is all that there is, and the physical body and all of these, solidified light forms are just here for me. They're here for me to play with and to realize that I can wield it. I can be a victim of it and pretend that I'm not in control, or I can start kind of co-creating with these physical laws, and it can be a lot of fun.
Yeah. So you guys are just physical light forms. You're not even, Barre, you said a couple of things before we're going to do a break, but before we go to a break is, one is the body, the bodies aren't really alive. So they're not alive, but they are a thought, right? They're just light and peace, love, and hippie beads that are put together, and it looks like a body, and that's why, right? I mean, how else would you say? I mean,
that is, and everything else in our so-called physicality is a facsimile of those other forces. And I would just ask anybody, that's staring into their computer right now, how do those pictures appear on the screen? They're from electrical vectors. There's no, I'm looking at myself right now. I know I'm not inside the screen there somewhere. It's just somehow these pixels are created through electronics, and pictures emerge, and here we are on the outside, a three-dimensional form of that. So it's really not that hard to understand. Just open our eyes and look at the fact that we have examples all around us. In fact, our electronic devices that are technological clues to what already is existing in nature, and then we cleverly bring them out, but then get dependent on it and think that that's more than us, somehow. And so it's not real. We're not saying we aren't experiencing it. We surely are. But what's real is the thing that projects these into being in the first place.
Yeah, and that's probably part of what's going on with this whole phenomenon. People, God love them, get programmed in because they really look at the pixels on the TV or computer, and it's real, right? And this person's got to be real. And these days we don't even know, if there's holograms going on. I mean, there's probably some stuff going on that would curl our hair if we really talking about it, but we won't go there right now. I mean, we're already blown on YouTube, so you don't want to do it anymore. Okay, you two stay right there. And we're going to take a quick little break here, and then we'll be back on OneRadioNetwork.com. We're going to take a little just pause for the cause. My name is Patrick Timpone, and this is One Radio Network. One of our sponsors is a really cool guy that we love. His name is Brandon Amalani, and he's a Chinese medicine fellow. And I've known Brandon for 12 years or so. Very cool guy. And his products all Myron glass. He's just out of control as far as his persnicketyness. Is that a word? Of the products that he makes. Check this out. This is how he makes his Ho Shu Wu. And I'm going to see if I can do everything at once. Boy. Previously, with our friend Brandon Amalani of Shen Blossom.
A good example of this also is like the Hoshu formula. That is, that's a new one that came out. It's really good because it's a blood builder. A lot of people don't understand that Hoshu is actually toxic if it's not prepared correctly. So I wanted to come out with one that not only features the Hoshu Wu as the king herb in the formula, but it's prepared of a minimum of 14 days. Usually we try and get 20, 21 days of cooking it. So you can think of it as like it's in a slow cooker with black beans. And it's basically just cooking down and deactivating some of those liver toxic compounds. So we do use that as like the bulk of the formula, but we basically put a lot of like mature ginseng root, like in our root extract. We have the fermented and hydrolyzed pearl powder, reishi stem, and that's got Shuti Hong, which is like a Romania type family. We got both the prepared warm stuff and then the cool stuff to kind of balance it out in the sense so it doesn't become sticky. If you get a good quality Hoshu Wu that's properly prepared, it definitely has some invigorating qualities to it and makes you feel relaxed, but yet fully vigorous and energized.
Now, that's the kind of Hoshu Wu that you would like, right? Really nice products, as you can hear. If you'd like to order Hoshu Wu or the other products, click on Shen Blossom right there on the front page, oneradionetwork.com.
Starving for vitality, we're turning to energy drinks, stimulants, and pharmaceuticals to try to improve our focus, increase our metabolism, rescue our sex drive, and adapt to the stresses of modern day living. Each year, an elk sheds its impressive antlers, regenerating an even larger set the following year. These velvet antlers have been a revered traditional medicine for thousands of years. Elk antler harnesses the adaptogenic and highly regenerative growth factors from this natural and ethical resource into a concentrated, bioavailable extraction. Its revitalizing effects span bone, muscle, and nerve support, improve metabolism, cellular repair, sexual potency, anti-inflammation, vascular strengthening, and hormone production. Humanely harvested from free-range U.S. elk, extracted in organic alcohol, and protected in Miron glass, our elk antler is available in 3 strengths to restore your vitality at any level.
Yeah, baby. And we have it on sale right now. All Surthrival products. That's the colostrum, elk velvet antler, the pine pollen, which is a great one, and also colostrum. Use promo code ONERADIO for another week or so. Promo code ONERADIO, 10% off. About a year and a half ago, I was introduced to a technology called molecular hydrogen. Molecular hydrogen. And George Wiseman, he's become a good friend, and it's actually a Brown's gas machine, and you breathe it, and you can drink the water. Hydrogen is one of the most prolific little atom things. I can ask Barre about it in the universe. Some people have said that's what stars eat for breakfast is hydrogen. I have actually one of my spiritual teachers, one of the books that wrote years ago, and this fellow who wrote it is 600 years old. He's had his body 600 years. Rebazar Tars talks about that, seriously, that hydrogen is the form that a spirit, the first form that spirit takes in a physical is hydrogen in the universe. That's pretty cool. So you can breathe this. Here's a little picture if you're on video, and get this machine and use promo code ONERADIO, and you get a 10% off. It's a lifetime warranty. Pretty cool. 1 year money back, no questions asked warranty. That's right. How many units and technology things do you know that offer you that? You know, after 10 months, I don't like this thing. It's not working. Send it back. George will give you your money back. The hydrogen, molecular hydrogen machine. Use promo code ONERADIO on oneradionetwork.com. It's really quite, I just breathe it all. I'm just all the time. And of course I'm crazy. So, you know, we should have that as a warning on the thing.
Nothing is more expensive than bad information. Know the source. OneRadioNetwork.com.
I wonder if you could use that for a disclaimer, like, you know, if you use this machine, you will be crazy like Patrick. And so, you know. Wait a minute, I got to turn in your microphones on. I'm just not quite getting the whole thing on this. Are you guys on? Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Hello? Hey, Barre, did you know that hydrogen is on both sides of the periodic table? You being a chemist geek, you probably know that. What's that about, I wonder?
Well, let's give the cliff notes of hydrogen. You know, every element on the elemental periodic table of elements are actually angulations along a waveform. They are not physical, again, as we think of it. In fact, I even have a little gizmo here that replicates the waveform of silver, and we make colloidal silver without the colloids and just a pure silver in the waveform. So
good for you.
If we really were allowed to have true technology, we would be replicating these waveforms, throwing them into a 3-dimensional printer, and setting up assembly lines and fabricating any kind of element we need, including hybrids of all those for anything we can imagine without ever needing to do these things in the first place. Hydrogen, what you said, that is very true, because hydrogen represents, there's octaves. Everything is octaves, and hydrogen is the beginning of the 5th octave, which is the carbon octave. It's the entry level into the carbon octave, where, humanity is kind of playing around right now. That's why our, the carbon backbone of everything and our so-called physicality. So hydrogen is the gateway to the 5th octave, and Walter Russell, people like that talk about this, in very detailed terms. And, every octave has a little portal that we call noble gas, and helium is the octave or the Akashic records for the 5th octave. It has all the memory of all the informational fields for our particular octave. So hydrogen's a huge thing. I drink hydrogen water every single day.
Interesting.
And I love that that machine that you're advertising
it's a great
there.
one.
I think I'm going to check it out.
Yeah, let me know. We'll get you a super deal. So the 5th plane, I kind of use the term the soul plane. If we would have like maybe physical, astral, mental, causal, etheric, soul, they're not stacked on each other like pancakes, my experience. They're more like they're all one big blob, but don't get me started on that. So isn't it interesting that you're hearing a lot of people, I don't know if you all, we say you all of Texas, you all have heard that, have you heard people saying we're moving into 5th density? It's a big meme out there, especially in the political world and the whole, I don't know, people, a lot of psychics and astrologers are saying 5th density. So is it possible then there's a lot of souls, because we're all connected during this crazy stuff, are all waking up to a more seen, or, like Melissa was talking about, seen as the watcher or soul. More souls are maybe waking up to this viewpoint? Possible? Either one. Melissa, you want to say?
Oh, well, I guess like with the whole 5D thing, I do think about, like the individual. Is it something, that you individually access on your own?
Yeah.
That like, saying we are entering something, as far as like the collectiveness of that, how does that manifest for an individual? And I find that it's about you on your individual plane, your individual level of where are you? What is your consciousness? What is your concept of this world that you're living in? What do you believe about it? Do you believe that it is, the big, scary, bad things outside in the world? Or are you taking personal responsibility for the role that you're playing and the aspects of this reality that are being shown to you? So does a collective of people all do it, or does each individual
you're bringing up
transcend?
I think you're bringing a very salient point that I've talked about. 5D, I don't think descends on anybody. I don't think God comes down and grabs us. I think we go up and grab, who we already are. Is that what you're, that's what you're saying, right?
That resonates more than, because like the ideas even of like collective consciousness or this happens to the collective, to me just doesn't resonate, because like you can't experience things for me. You can't interpret things for me. So even if a lot of people are having a certain experience, like a lot of people are living in fear, that doesn't have to affect me, because I get to choose. And so like this individuality, I think when we do kind of erase our inner borders, and we kind of merge with the herd. We merge with the collective consciousness, the herd mind. That means you do what the herd does, and you have to do what everybody agrees upon. And that has gotten us into this position where what is everybody agreeing upon? Everyone's agreeing upon masks and vaccine passports and all of this craziness.
But they're making a choice, though. Excuse me. They're making a choice, right? It's not something that eats them up. We have to, we have to.
And they feel as though, a lot of people feel as though, I'm doing it for everyone else. I'm doing it for the collective because that's just what you do. It's the nice thing. It's the good thing. It's the kind thing. Even if it doesn't make sense to me. And that's the problem, is that we have subjugated our own minds, our own rational, logical. Does it make sense? If you actually look at it, does it make sense that you believe that viruses cause illness? If you actually look at the data, even the scientific data does not prove that definitively, but people believe it on faith. They believe it because that's what they've been taught and told, and that's what everybody else believes. And so who am I to challenge it? And that's one of the big problems, is like people think, they have been kind of put in their place of like, you're not a doctor, you're not a scientist, you can't understand your body, you can't understand virology, you can't understand epidemiology because you didn't go to school for this degree.
Right.
And so they've subjugated their mind to the collective, to the appointed authority figure. I mean, it's religion. It's the age-old thing of, here are the sacred texts that can be only read by the sacred people who went to the sacred school, and I'm just little old me, and I don't know any better, and I listen to my doctor, and I listen to, the government because, they got there somehow. They must be more powerful and smarter than little old me, and so little old me just has to, drink the poison, take the shot, do the thing because that's just what you do. And so when the individual wakes up, there's this rebellion. And that's why, things like fluoride, that is very helpful for keeping people docile, for, just give me my bread and circuses. Let me have some pizza and watch the game. Is people settle for that, and they think that that's what life is.
Yeah. Well, we just lost YouTube again. No, I'm just kidding. So Patrick Timpone, along with Barre, Lando, and Melissa Sell, we're live here today. It is April 6th, having a great time. I hope you're having as much fun as I am. So Barre, this idea of individuality that we're talking about, you and your wife, or Melissa and her husband, they can't make a deal and say, well, we're going to go to the fifth plane together. Well, you could play with that and maybe do it when your body's sleeping and work on it. I remember interviewing Jonathan Living-Steagle guy. Remember him? Richard, what's his fellow's name? Do you remember? What was his name?
The Seagull, you mean?
Yeah, Jonathan Livingston Seagull. What was his name? Well, anyway, wonderful book years ago, 30, 40 years ago. And he, on the air, he said, well, my wife and I, we really work on it, and we actually experience ourselves on the astral plane while the body is sleeping, and we both remember it, and we're both conscious. So, I mean, it can be done, Richard, whatever. But it isn't, we're always going to be individual, right? We're always going to be an individual soul. Aren't we always? I mean, we're not going to, we don't get smashed together someday and become Melissa or Patrick, do we? No, I don't think so.
No, we're, there's many people in embodiment right now, and we're all here to make a choice. Are we moving on? Are we ascending through the octaves? Are we going to stay put, or maybe even descend into a lower octave? And, we're talking about, well, what does that mean? It's just, you already mentioned the electronic planes, and each electronic plane, one above the other, if we would just want to think of it sequentially like that, brings us into a more refined, not just level of electronics, but closer to the fact that we are the source. And of course, when I say this, I'm never discounting the creator who, created the original template that we're all using in the first place. But there are many souls that are remembering together. Melissa and myself didn't know each other that long ago. And because, of what's happening in the world, we've been brought together. Patrick, we've been brought together with you today.
Yes.
Because we are souls that are on a similar path, maybe not identical, but similar. And we're all remembering together. My wife and myself have been together for longer than I can remember, like 46 years or something like that. And, we have the same dreams. We don't even have to verbalize because we're kind of in each other's heads, not in an invasive way, but it just seems less cumbersome rather than having to articulate all day long. And also, if we go way back at the beginning of our journey, we had a single memory that was very distinct in both of us. And it was that we, whatever form we were in, we looked at each other one day and said, "Do not forget." And that's the pact that we made before we came into this embodiment. And I talked to other couples that, we're not losing our individuality, but we are doing is recognizing that, okay, we're embodying in different polarity spacesuits. Even though it's unfashionable to say there's only two polarities, well, I kind of believe that. And so, the different polarities, male, female, however you want to call it, we are there as a balancing act. And, like in our relationship, and forgive me for getting personal,
That's
but,
right.
we've just learned how to balance each other out and defer one to the other when it's their turn to create a more balanced, cohesive whole. And we're clearly on the same path, the same, making very similar decisions to move on. And then also recognizing we have a purpose while we're here. So let's get on and do it, because it's a hell of a lot more fun than sitting around and waiting for the other shoe to drop like most people are right now.
It's been said that God is in the heart of the beloved, your beloved. Melissa, have you found that in a way it's easier or more efficient when you have the kind of relationship that you have that looks like you have, like on your website with your fellow? There's something magical, like 1 and 1 equals 12 or something.
It's just fun. I mean, I really think of it as it's just fun. It's for a variety of experiences. I'm here to, I'm enjoying our time together. And I think that's a big thing too, is, you could very much romanticize it and get very attached to the idea of like, let's meet up in the next lifetime. But, you want to see how fixated am I on this idea of this relationship versus just the pure being here without conceptualizing it and thinking about our past together and our future together. It's like, are we having fun right now?
Are we having a good time?
Yeah, that's like my main priority is like, are we enjoying this? Is this fun still? Did we make a decision a long time ago and it's kind of like not fun anymore, but we're committed to that decision in the past? Or do we have this idea in the future? It is really about like, am I present? Am I here? Am I still enjoying this? Me and my partner, that's one of the things that has made our relationship great, is not having the relationship on a pedestal, not making it this thing that must survive at all costs. That was very much, I had very romanticized ideas about relationships early on in my life, and it caused so much drama and trauma and like just emotional roller coaster. But I was like, oh, but this is love, and it's supposed to be this way, and it's hard, and it's, that's the movie. That was the movie version of me who was just like, into all of the drama of relationships. And when I realized, oh, this has everything to do with how I'm conceptualizing this relationship and the things that have to happen and need to happen and ought to, it's like when you drop those ideas and you just like are present and you're like, hey, you're pretty fun and we have a good time together. Let's hang out. And you like drop all of the kind of weirdness. That leads to maximum enjoyment for me.
That's great. No, I like the way, well put. So it's almost, I see a lot of that, or it feels like a lot of that is happening in our culture, that so many of us are just becoming clear on who we want to hang out with on every aspect, right? And, I have old friends that are just dropping off like flies because they think I'm crazy. I nieces and nephews that think Uncle Patrick's crazy because I'm concerned about vaccines. I'm serious, and it's interesting, isn't it, what's going on? Wow.
Oh yeah. I mean, one of my very best friends, who's been my best friend for like my whole life, has kind of gone into a different direction.
Yeah.
Is bought into all of it. they started dating someone and like entered a different world. And it's like, if I'm too attached, even though that relationship was very, very important to me, and I would love it if they just kind of came out of it, if I'm attached to it and I think about how it shouldn't be this way and they should know better and they should realize that what they're buying into is bullshit and they should just wake up. If I
Did you say that on the radio? Oh, I'm just kidding. Go ahead. It's fine.
if I'm so mad about it, because I know a lot of people that they are upset that their family members aren't getting it, and it's causing conflict within them. And so you just have to give that person their freedom and sovereignty. You have to let them make their decisions and see the world in the way that they're seeing it. Hope that they wake up, sure, but don't, if you fixate on it, that creates for you an unpleasant experience. But again, when you can wake up to, they want, this person is making this choice. They are choosing to live in the world of darkness and fear and outside cause and viruses and, the government's going to save us. They live in that world right now because they want to. They're choosing it. And so if I can be okay, like if I have a desire for them to choose something different, that's just like them wanting me to choose something different. It doesn't work. Yeah. And so the more that you can just embody what makes sense to you, let people go their way in peace, wish them well, imagine, the very best outcomes for them. That's how I've been handling situations like that.
Interesting. Lando, do you think it's our job at all, Souls on the Body right now, to help people to wake up? Do you think that's could be part of our karma dharma and why we're here? Or
well, Melissa and I both chose a vocation to help people. So we're kind of, I think, caretaker archetypes, just by design. But one of the things that I've learned the very hard way, and over 40 years of clinical practice, is that, you don't force your help on somebody that doesn't want it. And I think even the greatest adepts of all time said something to the effect of, you can't, you can lead a horse to water, that kind of thing, but that's all you can do. So, I've been engaged in a lot of circles for many years on legal fronts, medical fronts, and financial fronts. And, we've kept in touch for many years, and a lot of these people have worked internally at very high levels. And some time ago, we all got together and said, the time for education really is kind of past, because people have, made up their minds, so to speak, and they're just going to do what they got to do. So I think what we're really doing right now is rather, sure, the souls are, remembering and waking up all the time. But I think what we're really circling the wagons, and those of us that are more of a, similar bent, are pulling our energy so that we have more of a, an energetic draft that's going to behoove us and where we need to go next. And, that's definitely what's right now. But yeah, you want to help people. But some of the people I see that could really need the most help don't want it. And I'm certainly not going to interject, myself into their world. And it's, I've learned of my business in the first place. Yeah. And actions have consequences, even in a simulation. And you just have to let people, who am I to say what experience another person needs in order for their soul progression?
Yes, sir. And if it's true that these obstacles on planet Earth make us stronger, and I know it is, then we should be getting real strong with the nonsense going on in our culture. We got to really come out of this one strong, or whatever. Wow. Here's an email for you. This is a good one.
I believe that too. Yeah.
Go
ahead. Sorry.
That's okay. This is from Joyce. She is in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. My goodness. I'm really having trouble letting go of things. I just can't let go of this or that. How do I begin this process? I'm enjoying the show. Thank you. Okay, letting go. That's great. That's a good one, right? That's a good one.
Observe what makes it hard to let go. Watch yourself cling to what you're clinging to. Watch the stories So you've got this idea, I've got to let go of this. In order to heal, in order to get better, in order to get free, I've got to let go of this thing. And so in order to see how the thing is holding on to you, you have to look at it. You have to observe the shackles and the chains and the ideas that is holding you to this place. And so through the observation, you'll say, oh, I'm telling this story. I'm saying, like, there are things that this experience called not being able to let go is made out of. And so with this observation, by looking at it and seeing this is how I'm stuck, that is going to be the keys to how you get free. First, you have to watch and see what is it exactly that's difficult about letting go. When I practice letting go, what obstacles come in and say, no, you can't let go because of these reasons. Write those reasons down. That's where you have to go to work.
But then is it a matter then of seeing that we are separate from the thing we want to let go? And once we see that, well, then there's really nothing to let go of, right? We just don't go there anymore.
Exactly. You start to see that, oh, this isn't the real me. This is an idea. This is an ego. This is something that I've formed. This is, I am worshiping the idol. We take all the gold and we melt it down into a cow and then we worship it. This is, I've created an idol out of this thing and I can't let go of it. I'm holding on to it. And so when you see, oh, I've created this isn't really who I am. Like you said, it does kind of all dissolve and fall away when you see what it's really made out of.
Yeah. So maybe that's something where one of the commandments, putting strange gods before me or something, maybe that's where that came from. I just hit on that one. Growing up Catholic, I should have thought of that.
That's exactly where it comes
from. Is that what it comes from?
No other God before me. If you put any other gods before me, who is me? Me isn't like your idea, concept of God within you. Me is literally you. It is like your own judgment and looking at, Jesus said, I am is the way, the truth, and he wasn't talking about himself in his fleshy physical form. He was talking about self-reference. So self-reference is, who do you say? Patrick says I am. Barre says I am. I say I am. So that is me. So the background this is this realization of this waking up of who you really are. You aren't, I'm not this red-haired, freckled, pigtailed person here talking to you guys, this is a role, you know what I mean? This is an identity, and I'm trying to have fun while I'm in this person's suit and enjoy it. But I have to realize that if I'm so fixated, and this is a big thing too, if you're really fixated on not aging, and so you've made a god out of
then you're going to age.
And so,
you're going to age.
Yeah, you fear this suit changing. You fear relationships falling away. You fear death. You fear separation because you are so identified here, rather than seeing, anything that's causing you to suffer is an illusion. Anything that's causing you to feel bad is an illusion. It's an ego. It's an identity. And so when you can really look at that and say, ooh, the things I'm clinging on to, these things I can't let go of, they're very convincing movies that you believe are the reality of who you are. And it's hard to let go. It actually is, it's the scariest thing ever. What it is you are facing the death of that identity. You're facing the death of that ego, the thing you don't want to let go of. So when you die, you will resurrect anew. You will wake up as a new person who doesn't have those problems, who's no longer clinging to an identity or a reality that you thought was who you are, because it's not.
And to the emailer, you said something really cool as soul, that we are happy. There's nothing wrong with us. That, we're just pure little light beams, God things. And so there's really nothing to let go of, because these things, in my experience, don't get attached to who I am. They're not there. They're just an idea, and it's my choice whether or not I buy into it or not. So that's pretty much, and we can kind of wrap and move into that before we go. This is really how disease works, right? I mean, this is really the essence of disease. Barre, is this your experience with buying into whatever, fear, worry, angst, and that's how disease starts? And, the German new medicine thing is trauma, but it could be a lot of different things just to start it, kick start it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, part of the conversation when we're saying I am is a resonance. It's the English translation of Om, which is the universal resonance for the creator. And so if we're just simply I am, that's where we're resonating. Now, when we qualify I am sick or anything you can think of, now we're bringing in a different resonance, and especially followed by I am, it's going to be even more impactful as far as resonating into manifestation, even the things we don't want. And now there's some clever things we can say after I am, like, the Nazarene was actually a master physicist. And when he said, I am the resurrection and the life, well, the resurrection is the radiation cycle of the informational fields going back up to be purified. Simultaneously, the life is with the informational fields being come back into our form for the next perfect picture of our experience. And so, it really boils down to when we have awareness of that, then we can say I am and qualify it only with really clever things that bring us the things we want. And then if we have a hard time getting out of our track sometimes, which we all do, and we have, all of us are learning this whole game is the art of non-attachment. Mm-hmm. And the only way to do that is to create a resonance with the thing that we want and not with what we don't want. It's really that simple.
Yeah.
And, just to wrap it up with new German medicine is, that is another grace extended to us by the Creator, where our very biology expresses many of these things that keep us attached. Even on the unconscious level, our body manifests or expresses them for us so that now it lets off the pressure, because that pressure creates a great impact on on those resonant fields that keep us more attached. And as our biology releases that pressure, now we are, free to become, rational beings rather than just instinctual animals, which is what we're witnessing with the herds these days.
So, is it New German Medicine or German New Medicine? What's the proper way?
Well, actually, one of the name change, Germanic healing knowledge, because towards the end of his life, Dr. Hamer wanted to get away from the medicine. And so the Germanische Heilkunde is what it is in German, which is roughly translated to Germanic healing knowledge. But it is German New Medicine another one.
How do you work with pain? So pain would have to be some kind of in my experience, and I worked through sciatica for a couple of years, and I did that all on the spiritual level. It was a trip, boy. I tell you what, you work with that baby, and it hurts. You all know sciatica, being chiropractors, but it almost feels like it's maybe an anxiety thing where it's a thought that's just saying, here's a thought, and there's another thought saying, I don't like that thought, and it's like, to me, that's like pain. Does that resonate with you, Melissa, with your work?
Yes, in a sense. So the conflict, and that's the thing, is we adapt. We are experiencing a state of conflict.
Yes.
And so the thing that gets us into conflict is that focusing on what we do not want. So with physical musculoskeletal issues like sciatica or back pain, being in pain during the active conflict, you are at war with yourself. It's a self-devaluation. You're not feeling supported. You're not feeling strong enough. You're feeling shattered, humiliated. You're feeling like there's something wrong. And so inside of you, your body's getting the message, I'm weak. I'm not good enough, not strong enough. I need to become stronger. So your body begins to renovate your tissues. And so there's tissue loss. There's a decrease in tissue during the active conflict of self-devaluation. Then once you resolve it, once you're like, I'm going to make it through this, I'm going to be okay, you stop that programming of things aren't okay, but then your body shifts into the restoration phase. And so when you feel pain, this is so interesting, when you feel the pain, the conflict has been resolved and your body is now in the repair and rebuild and restore mode. And so, but that's when you have inflammation, that's when there's swelling, that's when there's pain. And so depending on how you react to that pain, if you're in pain and then you start going, oh my gosh, I can't go to work, I can't do the things I need to do, all I can do is lay on the couch, I'm worthless, then you can reactivate that conflict. And this is how people get into cycles of chronic pain, when you react to being in pain with more self-devaluation, which is what generated the pain to begin with. So yes, there's just this, you're fighting against yourself, and you're not realizing your body is here to help you, and that the pain is actually an indication of healing.
Well said. Yeah, there was a fellow that we have on from time to time, and he recall healing work that he, is actually saying that he believes that when people have their heart attacks, so-called heart attacks, is when they're healing, right? Is when they're healing, yes. And this is when they should be resting, right? That's cool. Barre, I wanted to ask you, being a germ theory contrarian, and Melissa, you had mentioned like silver. I mean, would there ever be a case when you want to kind of take something, hydrogen peroxide or silver or something, to kill a germ? I mean, won't these guys just work it all out? Why would we need silver? Are you making silver coins if they're not telling anybody? Just kidding. Barre's, he's got a mint up there, boy.
No, you're spot on. They don't need those things at all. They don't. And they are more of an allopathic model of, how to deal with things. Now, depending where a person's at, and this could be a lengthy discussion, so we'll make it real. Mm-hmm. Sometimes those things can be useful, because let's just say a person has a hanging conflict. They haven't resolved what causes the problem in the first place, and maybe part of the conflict necessitated a biological reaction that included recruiting microbes into the area. And now, because that person is lacking the resources or the awareness to just allow that conflict to go full circle, biologically speaking, and resolve itself, they hang there. And in the process, you can have an abundance of certain kind of microbes that aren't pathogenic in the first place, but set up shop. They're creating enzymes and all sorts of things that make hurt and make things run and, swell up and everything. So sometimes it's, actually very helpful to go in these natural mediums, not antibiotics. It just, are like shock and awe, napalm everybody, that's at the scene. Sure. But go in with higher resonant things that actually carry a resonance in and of themselves. It's beneficial on that level. But then also maybe cull the herds of the microbes. Say, okay, we know you're good guys. We know you're, waiting to do your job, but, let's, we need to extend our window of opportunity so things feel a little better. And you're in such abundance doesn't complicate things. So we're going to use some of these things like silver and we use isopathics. We use all sorts of things we could talk about in order to manage the terrain while that awareness is waiting to happen. See. So it's not a black and white thing with that. That's interesting. And it makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah, so that could even happen maybe with parasites. Maybe somebody's got so many parasites that you just want to go in there and do a little something anyway, like turpentine or something like that. Exactly.
Yeah. Well,
those are all products of a terrain and not there because they're viciously trying to attack you on their own. That parasite, your little pet tapeworm wouldn't be there eating all your nutrition in the first place if you were, managing your terrain in a more aware state.
So sometimes it might be efficacious to use essential oils or whatever to help that tapeworm leave the building with Elvis rather than letting the body deal with it, right? Because it could take advantage and the body, I guess, if the tapeworm was tapey enough, wormy enough.
Yeah. And it's also very empowering on another level when you use natural mediums in a biological sense to manage your own condition rather than going in again with shock and awe with an expert that says that you're going to die unless you do this. Mm-hmm. And you learn that, well, you can have good consequences by using more gentle biological. And then that will also, again, create a resonance that will lead to the next rung up that octave ladder that we're alluding to.
Melissa, I know that you work with people with doing consultations right around the world. I guess when the cancer, the C word comes up, that must be tough because it's such a scary kind of devastating word for people, isn't it?
It tends to be, and one of the first things that we do when you're incorporating the GNM and the 5 biological laws is to look at this as cell loss or cell growth. Get rid of the names. When we name things, when you give it a title, you reify it. You make it realer than it really is.
Realer.
When you see it as, you make it, it's this type of cancer, it's this type of tumor, and it's got me. Instead of you having it has you. And so that's why it feels so disempowering, because it feels like you're the victim of this virus, of this cancer, of this disease process that has you, and you have to fight it, and so we get into this whole, I have to fight against the cancer and fight against the virus and fight against the bacteria. When you realize that it's coming from me, it is an expression of me, you relate to it completely differently. You don't try to cut off your own arm. You say, oh, this is an activity that's going on within me due to things that were outside of my awareness. Now I'm beginning to understand. And now I realize there's nothing to fight. No outside enemy that I need to battle against. This cellular growth was for my greatest benefit. And now I just have to give my body the okay that it doesn't need to keep proliferating this cellular growth. And that really is where my work lies.
So what are the cancer cells trying to do? Are they trying to clean things up, or are they just kind of growing because the conflict is still happening? Either one of you?
It depends on the type of cancer. So there are types of cancers that grow when you are actively conflicted. So an example of that would be an indigestible morsel. The colon tumor grows so it can help you to digest and eliminate something. And so it grows while it's active. Then when the conflict resolves, the bacteria eats up the tumor. It breaks it down. If there is a type of conflict that's causing cellular loss. So for example, with the cervix, you have a sexual frustration conflicts. The cervix will begin to erode. You lose tissue. And then when you resolve the conflict, you're no longer frustrated. The tissue rebuilds, and that can be diagnosed as a cancer, but really it's more like a scab. It's not growing as doing something wrong. It's tissue that's being repaired that appears to be a tumor. So those are the two different types of cancer.
What is generally breast cancer? There's a lot, or breast lumps. Just talk about the lumps for a minute, the lumps.
So that could be either separation conflict, like a torn from my breast conflict, and that is the tissue loss during active phase. The tissue duct, the breast ducts are being eroded, and then during the healing phase, there's tissue restoration. So that's that scab situation. And then the other type is a nest worry. So you're gravely concerned for the well-being of somebody that you care for, and so there's proliferation, there's growth of the breast glands, and that can lead to a different type of lump.
That could be a traumatic event with a child or a husband. Anything like that could pop those things.
Exactly.
Well, you two are entirely too much fun to talk to. I mean, I don't, you know what I'm saying? How's the garden growing, Barre? What's going on up there? Is it spring where you are?
Oh, yeah, spring, big time. We've got all sorts of stuff we're getting in the ground right now, and this is my favorite thing, and I can't wait to get outside there. We're expanding our crops, and we do all sorts of crazy things in farming these days too. We use geometry and other techniques where we're literally creating resonance in our planting areas that make things grow better. And And so, we're taking farming to that next level. And interestingly, everything that I learned in treating bodies over a lot of years, it's identical outside when you're tending the soil, because the same principles apply across the board with everything.
Is that a lot of Rudolf Steiner's work that you do? Steiner's work?
Yeah, that was my beginnings long ago. Rudolf Steiner, biodynamics, and then that got into different types of physics applied to soil science, what we call ionization soil science, and more recent years getting into the geometric forms and arrangements that actually create the resonance that you want, that are conducive to what you're trying to do. So, it just keeps going and going and going. And, that's the fun of it. And, you were talking about what makes us age. I think, everything you said is right on. But what really makes us age is when we disengage, stop learning, stop doing, and, are just sitting around watching the evening news and hoping that our 401k lasts before we croak,
Oh, you mean that's not good? I'm glad you told me that, because I'm going to stop that. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. So by any chance, do you do any kind of classes where you teach people the whole gardening, farming thing, or not?
Yes.
Do you?
Yes, we do.
Oh,
and we're we're on a new farm here, relatively new, about 5 years. We had one before that we took to Great Lanes, but we outgrew it, so we needed more space. We're creating a laboratory right now, where we'll have our microscopes set up. We'll have our alchemical lab. We'll teach people how to set up lab. Do organic chemistry that mimics nature, speeds up nature's regular processes, people how to link up with those processes with their own consciousness. That's what you call alchemy.
Wow.
Integrate all the radiesthesia, biogeometry, the soil science, and also we'll be bringing practitioners of the healing vocations up here and, teaching, how all of these sciences are actually one unified science. And, my whole thing for many years now is that I don't believe any doctor is worth their salt unless they put in some time farming.
Have you been up there, Melissa, to see Barre?
Not yet. It is on my list. I'm going to get up there this summer.
Are you really? Man, I want to come too.
Nice.
Want to come?
That would be fun. And you too, Patrick. You and I have been talking about that.
I know, man. I'm going to come up there. Your website is Alfa Vedic, VEDIC.com, right? AlfaVedic.com. I think if I do the right button, I think I can show there it is, AlfaVedic.com. Look at your little laboratory there, man. Am I a scientist? God, I love you. And then there's Melissa Sell, this Dr. Melissa Sell.com. And Melissa, you do consultations with people, right?
Yes, I would love, if you have questions, you're welcome to set up a free 15-minute call and we can discuss your symptoms and chat about it from the G&M perspective.
Really? So I'm really pretty crazy, so it would take longer than 15 minutes, would you, we can make a deal or something like that. Well, you guys are lovely. I love you both. Thank you for being here, and all the best to you and to your partners and animals and gardens and stuff. So we'll see you real soon. Let me know if we can help, okay? Just let me know, and we'll send you the link to this video if you'd like to share it with your folks and stuff, okay? Melissa?
Sounds good.
Paul,
bye, guys.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. See you soon.
Care.
Bye. Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye. Patrick Timpone,
Love you guys.
Love you too. OneRadioNetwork.com. Well, there you go. I mean, there you go. What do you think about that stuff? My goodness. That was fun, huh? Man. Well, I am going to do something now. I'm not sure what, but woke up this morning at, 3 o'clock. My characters in my screenplay woke me up at 3 o'clock this morning. And so it's been one of those mornings. And so it's ready to go to the printer. It's been a long time. I'm very excited to get it out and just send it around to a few people. And so I'll let you know. I'm not going to Hollywood anytime soon, so I probably going to be here for a while. But I'll see you on Thursday. We're going to take tomorrow off. I'll see you on Thursday with Dr. Paul Thomas, who is doing this whole thing in a vaccine study. And so I love you guys. Thank you. See you soon. And if you guys want to say hi afterwards, Paul, stay right there and I'll be with you. Look like you're still on camera. I'll see you. I love you. May the blessings be. And we're going to see you on Thursday at 10 o'clock, okay?
We are listener supported. One Radio Network.